Ma'am, we couldn't hear you.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah, so I was saying that we'll go with the traditional format. Any two of you or three of you can give me a quick recap about the last class. Try to do it in structure so that it's easy for everyone to, do a quick review. You can just raise your hands, we'll unmute you, and then we can talk about it. Okay. Yeah, come on.
We have recalled our previous classes, that is string functions and many arrow functions and many other.
Mhm.
And we got to know about what is an array and how it generally array is nothing but a homogeneous storage of elements. But in JavaScript, it is different when compared to other programming languages.
Mhm.
We also got to know about different operations of arrays, that is join, type of, pop, splice, and many other. And we did a exercise on like creating a digital clock which is in the format of 000000, so that
Mhm.
at a morning 8 o'clock we don't get 8:32 or some other, we just get 0832 colon 09. And we made any exercises by using the methods of arrays, that is we use a splice mainly. That's it, I think.
Anyone else? Okay, I see two more hands. Um, yeah, Sairama, you can.
Yes. Yesterday we have discussed about the string topics and functions, how to declare them and how to use them, and how to use recursive functions. And we also seen about the arrays and
Mhm.
how to declare them and different operations on arrays like pop, push, shift, unshift, splice, etc. And we
Yeah.
also seen about the date module, and we have given an assignment to create a user interface which consists of the digital clock. That's
Yes. Okay, so I think that's it. So we had almost 76 people in the last class. As of now, I see 48. So I would just want to know if we still have someone who could not do the digital clock assignment, so that I mean, you still have to do it with the complete UI UX, but if you're still stuck with the code, we would do a quick a revision on that code, and after this, I hope that you'll be able to do it. So if there's anybody, you can just put in a direct message to me if you don't want to write it to everyone, but just inform us if you haven't done it. It's fine, it's totally fine, because there are a lot of beginners in the class, and it's pretty obvious and understood that you might have a lot of issues when it comes to syntax, understanding how things work, and even like the logic implementation. So just drop me a text right now, so that in case there's anybody, we can, do a quick discussion on that one. So all 50 of you have done it. See, if that is the case, I might ask for the assignment right after the class. Okay, so okay, there's one person who, yeah, one second, someone's raising hand. Um, yes, Money, you can speak. Uh, Money Meghna, you can speak if you're able to unmute yourself. I don't know, I am not able to unmute yourself.
Ma'am, actually, I didn't do the assignment and I have to listen to the classes, ma'am. Last 2 classes I have missed due to my family trip. So I didn't do the assignment, ma'am. This is the next class which I'm attending. I have attended the first class and this is my second class actually, ma'am.
Okay.
I will listen to the videos and do the things, ma'am, assignment and all.
Okay. Okay, fine. That works. Yeah, so whatever be the reason, it is good that you inform us, because if we ask you to submit the assignment right after the class, then we'll not be taking any reasons from your end. So it's better that you tell us right now. Someone said that they could not attend the last class and they want a brief on the clock assignment. So it was nothing. You just have to make a digital clock. Since we were already discussing the logic during the class, I told them to, if you have got time, you can like do the UI UX part, make it look beautiful and blah, blah, blah. But the major logic is that the digital clock should be in the 00, comma, 00, comma, 00, colon format that goes as hours, minutes, and seconds. So like if you see a general tendency of students, or in general if someone is explaining me the assignment, I'll be like, yeah, you want the current date and time to display, so fine, I will use the date and time methods and bring it. But the thing is, suppose we're doing a class right now at 7:11, right? So it's 19:11 and imagine it's 36 seconds for you guys. So what we wanted in the assignment was it should go as 19:11, 37, 38, blah, blah, blah. Then the other one was use the same program execution, but the iteration should happen every 3 seconds. That is, if it is at 36 seconds, the other print should be at 39 seconds and 42 and 45 simultaneously. So the logic behind that implementation was that you should be aware about set interval or set timeout function as well. Um, yeah, so this was the assignment, but the major catch where most of the students were, failing to implement was that suppose this class was not happening at 7:11 in the evening, but 7:11 in the morning. Okay, so in that case, what they were printing was 7 colon 11 colon 36, but what I wanted was 0, 7, 11, and 36. That means that whenever the number is less than 10, you should have a zero appended to it for all of it, like hours, minutes, and seconds. So it will all, that is why I call it the 0000 format. So that's it. That was the assignment. So those who have missed the class, you can definitely go through the videos and see how we talked about the date and time functions. What is it that we used? A lot of people have given the code in the chat in the previous class, and we did a detailed discussion on that one. So you can even listen to that discussion, but I always recommend people to first try your hands out. And those who are complete beginners, one tip for you guys, always make sure that whatever it is you're trying to implement in the code, write it point wise in your notebook first. So suppose if you're trying to implement the digital clock, what you would need is the current time. Okay, so you can make a pointer and say, okay, obtain current time, obtain current hour, obtain current minute, similarly seconds, and then see that, okay, combining all of these, you have to make an output and then you have to iterate it every 3 seconds or 1 second. So you can write that iterate every 3 seconds. So this way, it will be easy for you to search that which function or which built-in method is going to give you the current hour, which built-in method will give you the current minute, or which built-in method will give you the facility to iterate every 3 seconds. Okay, so it's the little details that you might miss out on. So always make pointers and then start coding. Don't jump into coding right away, because that's going to mess up your mind a lot. So yeah, that was the assignment. I'll also talk about, so today in today's class, we were basically going to talk about objects. We'll talk about events and we will talk about a bit of OOPS concept. Okay, so if you are able to cover the whole of OOPS concept, it's fine. But I don't think so that will be possible because it involves a lot of code. So we'll be looking into basically classes, objects, prototypes, events, and stuff. You will have one more assignment after this, which is gonna be your mini project along with digital clock, which will be implementation of a calculator. Okay, so as I've talked about this before also, I don't really care about your UI UX, but when you're implementing calculator, I need the basic functionalities working. Okay, so once this session is over, you will have all the concepts that you need to implement for a calculator. So I don't think anyone should have that issue. So that will be your another major mini project for JavaScript session. So we can start with today's class. Just a moment, I'll share my screen. Share screen. So everyone's able to see my screen, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So okay, so this is the last code that we were talking about. Now we'll talk about objects. Okay, so anybody who can who has a programming background or who can explain me what objects actually are according to your understanding.
Actually, object is an instance of a class, madam. Means in a group of class members at a particular time, what is it is going through. It
Okay.
mean like object.
What do you mean when you say instance of a class?
Let
That
me say
means
me
it can.
example.
Yeah, continue.
Like if you are at means any position, ma'am, at moment of time, what it is going to do means at a physical at a moment of time, what it is undergoing. For suppose we are at a restaurant, ma'am. There may be the overall thing is like giving ordering the food and getting the food, but object that is under the class, and object means ordering a specific food, that is biryani, and getting the biryani and bill paying means that is object.
Okay, fine. So can I say that when you say that object is an instance of a class, or classes are a blueprint of objects, if that is how it goes in an opposite manner, can I say that if I'm talking about an empty building, okay, which has multiple floors and multiple rooms in every floor or in every flat, can I say that the whole building or the design of the building on how it is built is a class, and every individual room, it can be anything, it can be a shop, it can be a restaurant, it can be a flat for someone to live in, it can be a barber shop, a salon, whatever. So can we call those as objects of that particular building which is represented as class?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So see, that is how it goes. So since like whosoever okay, I have a lot of chats to check. Yeah. So when we're talking about something in general, okay, so that becomes a class, and whatever comes inside that class or whatever examples are coming inside that class, we can say that it's an object. Like someone wrote it in the chat that when we're talking about fruits, it's a class, but when we're being very specific about an apple or an orange, it becomes an object of that particular class. Okay. So that's how the class and object definition goes on. So in JavaScript, everything that we're trying to write is an object. I don't know how many of you remember, but in last class, when we were creating the array and we were trying to implement an array method of two string. Okay, when I was telling you guys that it can contain heterogeneous data as well, and then we were trying to convert that array into a string. Once we used the type of method for that array, we got the output as object. Do you guys remember that? Yeah, okay. So you guys remember. So that is why that is why we say that in JavaScript almost everything is an object. But what comes as an exception is that the primitive data types that you're talking, right? Boolean, strings, numbers, they can't be objects. In order for them to be objects, you have to use a specific keyword called the new keyword. Okay. Rest everything by default is an object. Okay. So obviously then there are different ways in which we can create objects. So if you talk about a very general format, it goes into name of the class or the object, and then give a value to it. Okay, so I'll show you how it is done. If you see my code, you will be able to see this. Okay, so you see a let person equals to first name colon Sneha, last name Kumari, age, eye color, blah blah. So this is the basic creation where we are specifying the object name, and then these are the properties that we are specifying for that particular object, and these are the values that we're going to give to that object property. Okay, then when we're talking about using a literal, that is when you're talking about having a constant value, then you can just change the word and go for just change the let into constant and then do the same thing. When I talk about using a new keyword, this is basically done when we're talking about primitive data types. Okay, because they have like a separate identity of its own. So in order for these primitive data types to be objects, you need to use the new keyword. And this is also one of the ways. So one way is when you're declaring the object, you can directly give a colon and specify the value. Or what you can do is whatever name you've given, you call that property with the dot operator and then assign values to it. Okay. So 1 minute. Okay, so this is the example that I'll show you how this is done. Okay, so you see a comment here that okay, this is the how do I say? This is a comment that shows const x equals to person, right? So you've created an object here with multiple properties, right? But here what we're trying to do is we are trying to create another variable and we are assigning person to it, right? So generally what it does is, suppose I give you that, okay, x equals to 10, okay, and you're using another variable y and you're assigning x to it. Okay, so what is it? It's basically a process of generating a copy of x, right? So even y will have the value 10, right, or whatever value we've taken for x. But when we're talking about objects in specific, this particular command is not going to create a copy of person. What it will do is, if you try to fetch anything from this or make any changes from this, it will change for the initial objects as well. That is why we say that they are addressed by reference and not by values. Okay, so they are mutable. So once you create a copy, and that copy is acting as a reference. Okay, so if you change anything in that copy as well, because it's not generally a copy, you're just creating another reference of it. So if you change anything in that newly created reference, the actual value will also change. Okay, that is why objects are mutable. I'll show you how this goes. Okay, so we will first comment this. Okay, and you can see that we've created a new object person, and then there's a first name, there's a last name, there's age, there's eye color, right? This is the same code that we've tried to write here. Instead of writing it in curly braces with multiple properties, we've written it using the dot operator. So if I do okay, I should first do a console.log person. Okay. Sure. Okay. So once you do a console.log and that object name, you see that that's first name, last name, age, eye color, brown, blah blah. Now, if you try to add any feature, okay, suppose I say person dot mood, okay, it's super excited, okay, so it's gonna change like right away, right? So it can print in any way possible, whatever way you want. It totally depends. Like right now it was printing in this format. Right now it's printing with that format, right? So it totally depends. And now what we're trying to do is we're writing this. So we are putting everything that is inside that person into X, right? So in that case, suppose you didn't know that if you are writing const x equals to person, a copy will not be created. Suppose you didn't know that, right? So what would you think? You would think that, okay, if I do a console.log x, then I'll get I'll comment this first. If I do this, so what I'll get is, okay, I should do this also. Okay, so right now in this code, we are getting just one output that should be console.log x. Okay, so I'll show you how it goes. So it should be first name, last name, age, eye color, brown, right? So you would think that, okay, fine. Now, because I copied person into x, these are the values I got. And since I already set x dot age equals to 10, we're just changing x, okay? But if you see the output for person as well, you will see this. See, even here it has changed, right? So that means you're not creating a copy of it. You're just calling it by reference. So if you're changing anything in the copy, it is also changing it in the main object created. It's exactly like if you state in a very layman example, suppose I have an official dog. I stole or I asked my friend that can you please send me your project report copy because I'm too lazy to make it. And since we both have done the same project, I just have to change the name, roll number, and blah blah. Okay, a little bit of change in acknowledgement and stuff. And she's like, yeah, I'll send you this. You create a copy of it and then change it. Okay, don't change anything in my original doc. And I'm like, yeah, I have that much of sense that I'll change it in the copy and not in the original document. But imagine it working in the JavaScript feature. And once I create a copy and start changing, even her projects changed. So whatever data that was supposed to be hers in her original document, even that got changed because I changed stuffs in the copy of that document. So it is certain that next time she's not gonna give me her report to copy, right? So that is how JavaScript object works when you want to grab when you want to like get a feature of it or produce a value about it stuff. X and person point to the same reference. Yes, because we are putting the person object thing into X, they are both talking about the same thing. So person is also referring to person object and X is also talking about the person object itself. That's how it goes by reference. Is it clear? Okay. So I hope the concept of object and how the copy is created and how the pictures go on, that's clear for all of you guys. Yeah, okay, good. So you shouldn't really forget this copy thing because suppose you're working on a real project where you have to, create a copy of something and do the changes there. Always remember that JavaScript is gonna screw up if you start changing values in the copy of the object created. Okay. Fine. So the other thing that we have to talk about is how do we access the properties? So you can see that I've written the comment as object name dot property, or you can give it in square brackets under double quotes. Just mention the property in that case, right? So we have already seen that here, dot first name and stuff. So if you change that into square brackets with the property value, even then you will get the values. Another very interesting thing is how for loops are working. So we don't really say for loop in JavaScript when we are talking about loop implementation in case of text. We say for in loop. Okay. So what basically happens is object is an entity in itself. So whatever properties you have, whatever changes you want to make, it will you can iterate through that properties are used to loop in objects. Yes, so you can basically loop inside the objects using the for in loop. Okay, so this is also a pretty interesting concept which I didn't find in other languages as much as I know of it. So you can see that what we've done is we've created a string, an empty string here, and we go as a const person is equals to new object, and I give the first name, the last name, the age, the eye color, everything as whatever data was given already. And what I do is I start the for in loop, and what I do is for let x in person. Okay, so those who have an experience with Python, you might know that even for their loops, okay, you don't have to like declare a particular variable outside. Like you can take anything, absolutely anything. Like in other languages we always take I as the variable and then go through it and stuff, but here the declaration is done along with it, and there's no condition or stuff to be followed. It will iterate as many properties are there. So we say for let x in person text plus equals to person at x. So this x is basically for every property that we are referring to. Okay, so we are iterating that person's property into a text, which is a empty string, and then we are printing console.log text. And now, can anybody tell me what do you think is gonna be the output for this program? Like, you can write it in the chat. Just tell me how is it gonna print. The code is available on your screen, so just send me the outputs in the chat box. Each and every attribute will be printed. Yeah, that is true, Kirti. But I would like you to put the chat. Put the output in the chat. Okay, so I see a lot of replies, but I see the replies from the similar people, like Prisha and Soumya, Kirti, Garima. I need new names, okay? Because if you guys don't answer, I'm definitely gonna call you out on my own, like randomly, and then ask you to do it. Navya, are you there? Navya.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so can you tell me what is gonna be the output?
Same person have first name, last name, age, and eye color, and it is appended to text string. So the object will be Sneha Kumari 22 brown, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, good. Fine. So I see multiple responses, and there are people who have added space in between of the output. There are mostly there are so many replies where you haven't added any output. So I'll show you how it goes, and then you can decide on your own. So you can see that it goes Sneha, Kumari, 22 and brown. So those people who have given me the output without spaces, your answer is correct. And the reason is because we are not putting any space in general. Okay, you can see that we're directly appending the properties value to the text string, right? So there will be no spaces in between. In order to add a space, you have to like add a new line or append space to it separately, and then you will get the desired output. So Mani and Chandani, you guys gave the correct answer, but there was a space in between all the values, so that space will not be there. Okay. Cool. So I think you guys are clear with the for in loop as well. That is what we talk about in objects. Let me see if okay. There's another very, very important thing that we talk about when we're talking about objects, and that is the this keyword. So we have already discussed about this keyword when we were talking about how do we actually call a function in JavaScript, right? So in that we know that when you have to transfer, or like when you have to refer to the owner of the function, then you're using that this keyword, right? So you do like a function name dot call, and then you specify this. I'll show you it in the code so that you can have like a quick revision. Yeah. So if you see here, this was the function name product, and you were using a dot call method. And then apart from specifying the argument values, you were also using the this keyword, right? So similarly, this is also like pretty popular when it comes to objects. So in an object method, so it totally depends where you're using this using the this keyword. Okay, so when you're talking about an object method, the this keyword will refer to an object. Okay, if you're just referring this keyword in general in the code, it might refer to a global object. Okay, even in a function, it can point toward the function, or it can refer to a global object in general. So generally in English language, if you're saying that okay, this pen is mine, you're referring to the pen as an object. Suppose this is an object, it actually is, no suppose in that case. So when I am saying that this is mine, even if I don't specify pen, I know that this, I'm talking about this particular object pen, right? So that is how it works even when it comes to JavaScript code. Everywhere you see this being used, this keyword, you will get an idea of why is it being used or what is it being used for. And generally it will always point, if you get the answer of along with what it is being used, if there's an object name, so you know that it is being used with the object. So you should know that whatever is the answer to that what, that is what it is pointing to. That is where the this keyword will be pointing to, right? So if I tell, if I show someone that, okay, this is mine, right? So you will ask, okay, what is this referring to? So you should get the answer, okay, Sneha is talking about pen. So because your answer to the what question is pen, the this keyword will always point towards the pen. Okay, that is how it goes. Okay, guys, once you unmute yourself for answering, please don't forget to mute yourself, because we really don't want to hear what you guys are doing in the background. Because if you're watching a movie, we can hear that too, or you're playing with kids, ever. One more point when I talk about the this keyword is like there are methods like call, apply, bind. So even when you see the use of these methods, and there will definitely be a usage of this keyword. So in that case also it will point towards the opt or to the function, whatever you're using it with. So these are a few pointers. I personally don't like the this keyword. It's pretty confusing for me. I'm like, why do you have to specify? I can just write the object name or the function name and be happy about it. But no, people have to use the this keyword. So, okay, where were we? Okay. So we have talked about objects, right? We have talked about classes like in brief. So we'll talk about a few events, okay? Because events are pretty important when you talk about it in general. Just a moment. I need to show you how it goes. Okay, this is visible to you guys, right? The font is not too small.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yes.
Okay, because that Zoom tab is covering all my tabs and I can't switch between the files in Visual Studio Code. That is why I had to increase the font. Okay, so we will talk about events, okay, events and event handlers and stuff. So when we talk about events in general, just relate it to English language first, right? So when we talk about event, you know that something is supposed to happen. Now it can be anything. It can be a birthday party. It can be a anniversary function. It can be a 100K celebration by influencers. Anything, right? So when we're talking about events, when we talk about JavaScript, it's basically what action is to be taken when the page is loading, or if the user is giving any input. Suppose it's clicking on the mouse, it is hovering its mouse, whatever it is. So what should be the action? That thing is called an event. Okay, and there are various event handlers who handle these events that happens. So it can be verifying a user input or taking any user action or browser action, whatever. Okay, what happens when you click a button? So people who are already familiar with JavaScript, you might have used on click, okay, when you're creating a button and stuff. So that is what we refer to as events. So whatever you do or whatever you want to do, with a particular click or on loading a page and stuff, those go on the events. So I don't know if you will be able to see. Suppose so, I'll go live with this piece of code, and just anybody tell me if you are able to see the Chrome tab or window. Are you able to see it? No, you're still on Visual Studio Code, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll stop sharing and I'll reshare. Okay. Here. Screen. This. Okay. Now you'll be able to see both. So now can you see my screen? The Chrome screen?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. So you can see that I've already started the live server here, which shows port 5500, right? So it already loaded previously, so I'll refresh it again, okay? Now you'll see that there's a click button. If we come back to the code, you can see that I've written a script, okay? Now you should know that when you're writing an HTML code, if you want to integrate any piece of JavaScript inside it, okay, or suppose you have a separate JavaScript file, you always have to use the script tag and specify the file name, or you can generally start with a script tag and start writing the JavaScript code there itself. So what we have done is we've created a function called message, okay, and inside that function, what we're doing is we're declaring a message variable which says prompt, who are you? Okay, so this prompt is basically an event. If you're doing it in the browser, just like we did it in the terminal, so instead of taking a by default value that we have specified in the code, if you say prompt, enter a number, it will ask the user for the number, right? So when you're saying prompt, who are you, and this thing is running in the browser, so you will get a dialog box asking who are you, okay? And you have to enter something. Once you enter something, might be if you don't enter, even then you will get the alert message, because we have not put the condition that okay, if it's a empty box, throw this error, blah blah, because we are dealing with basic stuff right now. So here you see that you put a prompt and there will be alert, I don't care whosoever you are, and the message, right? So whatever you enter in the message, that message will be concatenated along with this statement. So we will see how it works, right? So this is a click button. I click on it and it asks, who are you? I am God. Okay. And I say, okay. And it's like, I don't care whosoever you are, I am God. So that is how it works. So you saw that once I got the prompt of who are you, I put in it as God, and I got an alert, I don't care whosoever you are, along with the message, right? So suppose I say, I don't put anything and I just say, okay, right? So it will just append the blank space and it will say, I don't care whosoever you are, right? So because there's no particular condition, for the field, that is why it's working like that. Suppose you wanted to put a condition that no, the user cannot give me an empty value, then it will throw you an error, right? So this is how it goes. And for that click button here, this is how we create a button. We say input type and button and value click. So I can also change it to don't click. And now if I try to load it, it will be don't. We have the tendency of doing whatever we are not supposed to ask, like not supposed to do. So this is how you do it. And this is one of the events, right? So there are multiple such things, alert, prompt, there was more. This is example for bong and down, blah, blah. I'll show you. Yeah. If you talk about a very basic, so yeah, mouse over event and all of that is also a different event that we are talking about. There can be like a lot of events, not just click, but even moving the cursor, hovering the mouse over a certain thing. All of those comes under event. So you can see that, so don't worry about this file. So this file was created from like very basic with one example first and then other and then third. That is why it's like in a scattered manner with every piece of code having their own HTML and head and stuff, so that it doesn't get mixed up and there shouldn't be error during the sessions, because it's going to take a lot of time for us to solve the error. So even for this, you can see that it's like a proper HTML file in itself, right? So there's an HTML, there's head, there's a heading, JavaScript events, and then inside the body, we're writing, okay, script language, JavaScript, function, mouse over event, right? And once we've created this function, inside that function, what we are doing is we put an alert that this is a very boring class, okay? And you can see that I've created this on mouse over event here, which says you have to call the mouse over event function, and what will be the content inside it. It is keep cursor over me. Okay, so I'll show you even this. Right? So if I refresh, because I've commented the other piece of code, see, keep cursor over me. Right? So wherever you keep the cursor, it will show you. Okay, so right now you saw that I lit the page, right? Now, the moment I put my cursor over here, it will say this is a very boring class. So again, I refresh, everything will be same. The moment I bring it here, it will be, this is a very late class. So whatever you want to change, this is the best class I have attended. Okay, so you can change anything inside the alert and I will refresh it again. The moment you bring the cursor over here, it will change the alert back. So you can create anything like that, right? So you can have a on-click event, you can have on-mouse over, and there are multiple such events that you can actually talk about, deal with. So when you are working on a website and stuff, you can, go through. So one thing that can go as like a basic class assignment, not assignment, but read through for you basis, do a research on what are the kinds of events in JavaScript and how do you actually make it work. Maybe try experimenting by doing a web page and putting in multiple events in that web page and see how it goes. Okay, so make some crazy stuff and blah blah. Okay, so that was about events. So since we have already talked about events, I will go for, I again can't see my tabs. Let me go to new.js. This is it. Okay. Yeah. So, okay, the event thing is clear. So I think we are good to go with, wait, let me stop share and go to the assignment. This whole live server thing is pretty annoying. I was talking about the assignment. So we'll do a quick discussion on the assignment and then we can discuss about classes and other stuff. Where did my assignment go? Yeah, okay. So if you are able to see this, okay, you guys can see this, right? So this is how you're gonna do the calculator program. So it will involve your on-click stuff like the event stuff and the basic addition and stuff. So this I created way back for my another student. So the UI should be simple, take inspiration from what is shown below. The primary focus that we have to do is on the JavaScript code. So you have to perform operations like addition, subtraction, etc., like division, multiplication, all the basic stuffs. Okay. So how do you go? So this is why this is what I was talking about previously, that whenever you have to put in any functionality or you want to implement something, make the pointers of whatever you want to implement so that it gets easy for you to work on those separate segments. So like here I mentioned that on functionalities, that on clicking the numeric buttons, it should be displayed on the screen and the chosen operation should be performed. So suppose I click 3, it's not a working demo. So suppose I click 3. So 3 should be displayed here. Then I do a plus. So plus should be displayed along with 3, or even if it's not, it should perform the operation. But if you're displaying it, that's the right way to do it, or else how are we going to know what operation you want to do, right? So then you can go with 4, 5, 6, whatever. The equals to symbol should display the result. So once you've given all the values, once you click equals to, the previous data that was on the screen has to go away. So it will be cleared and then the calculated result shall be displayed on the screen. And the third functionality is that the clear display button should clear the display screen, whatever it is, whether it is the result, whether it is just the symbols, the operands or whatever, the clear display should clear the screen. Okay. So this is one example, I would say, of how you are gonna implement it. So what we can do is we can have like a quick 10-minute discussion on how do you think you can proceed with it, so that I can give you pointers. And then when you come for the next class, we can discuss that, okay, this is how you were able to do it. And if people are not able to do it, we will do a quick discussion in that class. But right now, I would like you guys to think for 10 minutes and imagine or list out that, okay, these are the events, or this is the piece of code that can come into play while we are implementing. Just like you figure out the puzzle pieces together, right? So you can think on that one, that yes, ma'am, we'll have something called as on-click event that will work for the button. Then this is how we should do it. This is how the append should happen. So think about all those functionalities, and then we will do a quick discussion. So once you have figured out that these are the things that you think according to you, it's there, list it out in the chat or unmute yourself and talk. So that if there are other people who have new pointers or they have not figured out what you have figured out, even they will get an add-on, pointer to add. Is it clear what I'm asking you to do?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So is there anyone who has done the
I had a
Java?
doubt. So, like
Yeah.
in this calculator, is it compulsory to can we have only two operands, or you want we are adding multiple elements together? Not adding. I
No,
mean,
no, no.
whatever.
No, we'll have multiple. Make sure that it's the best calculator that you have to done, that you have done, made.
And the operations, like, do we want the basic ones or all of them that we have?
No, I mean, see, if I feel that if you are able to do plus, minus, division and multiplication, that is more than enough. But if you think that implementation was easy, you can put modulus as well and exponentiation as well. It's totally on you. But I would definitely want the basic four operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division to be implemented. Is it clear?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So I hope everyone's active and nobody's sleeping during this session, because I know that the active ones are anyway gonna answer, but I want it from other people as well. So I'm gonna randomly call people if I don't see your answers or discussions in the chat. No. Button, click event, key press event, input event. Okay. So we are definitely gonna have these buttons, right? And so we'll have an on-click operation as well. But what we have to do is for every button, we'll have assign a value from 0 to 9, and then with the operations that we want, the plus, minus, etc. And we have to like append it somewhere, so that like we have to keep a common form or anything on which it will be appended, like every time that value is changed or a operation is selected, right? I see a lot of chats. Set text to write text. Using HTML, create a structure, and using CSS, add colors for it. By on-click event, take the operands and operators. We will create buttons, and if a specific button is clicked, we will call the specified function. Yes. So anyone who is trying to figure it out, if you can just give me a line of code, how do you think it's gonna go? In the function, okay. We write functions for clear and display operation, etc. Add event handlers to the buttons using the on. Anupriya, are you trying to say something? Okay, no, she wasn't. Okay, on click add to result one. Similarly for others, call desired function to handle operation. Yes, yes, Prisha, that is how you're gonna approach it. Garima writes, when the function will be called, then on the display, that particular operand will also be made visible. Yes, that's one of the criteria. So you have to make sure that everything, when you're talking about the display or when we're talking about the clear stuff or blah, blah, everything has to, be coordinated and in sync, that, okay, everything connects to everything, right? Because since we are putting like different values to every button separately, it's a manual work, right? So you have to make sure that the common things, like no matter your buttons from 0 to 9, right? So you've created those 10 buttons. You have to make sure that once you click any of these button, it has to be displayed, right? Or once you click clear, no matter what is there on the screen, it has to be cleared. So for all these individual buttons, everything has to be in sync when it comes to implementing common functions. Using HTML, CSS to design the outer look of the calculator along with the click buttons of numbers and operations, then write a JavaScript code to make this work. Button on click add, okay, plus button function add return a plus b. Yes, you can definitely write functions, but what I would like to point out is we need to follow BODMAS. Yes, calculator follows BODMAS rules, so you have to. Coming back to Saidamani's chat. Yes. So see, you're creating a function that's returning a plus b, right? So make sure that see, in that case it will work, right? But if you're taking 3-4 operands, make sure that it doesn't throw error, right? Because suppose you're just doing a plus b, is your calculator smart enough if I put in 3 plus 4 plus 5, right? So it take a as 3 and 4 as b. So what it has to do is first it has to add this, and then the result will be 7, then plus 5, right? So then again a will be 7, b will be 5. Then in this case it might throw errors if you're taking multiple operands at once. It might be restricted to just having 2 operands. So even yeah, then we can use the eval function. Yes. So that is what I'm telling, that like it's you know it, but if there are other people who are trying to implement through the same logic, guys, make sure that you don't put any such restriction or in terms of number of operands, right? Because if you're creating functions for everything, it will be restricted. Like you can put 10 parameters, right? Once I see your code and I see, oh, okay, she's taking 10 parameters in the function, I might start experimenting with 11 parameters, and in that case you will get an error. So make sure that you eliminate these edge cases once you're writing the code. Okay, so I see responses from Soumya, Shreya, Sairamani, Meghna, Garima, Prisha, right? So these are the common people. So I think I have almost 8 responses as such, 8, 9 responses, and we have 53 participants, right? So I want to know what is the rest of the crowd doing. Okay, let me pick someone. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correct. Tiasa Khan, are you there?
Yes, I was just solving it. Right.
Okay.
I'm confused.
Okay, cool.
How
Where exactly which are you confused?
The HTML CSS parts are very easy and it's clear, but the JavaScript part, I don't know how to use the functions and why exactly are we using those, whatever they are written, eval, etc.
Okay, okay. Cool. So tell me something. Suppose like since I've asked you to make a calculator, right? Suppose just for a moment forget what are the functionalities you want to put, right? Just imagine that I've asked you to write just a program where I've given you 9, 10 buttons, and once I click on a button, yeah. So once I click on a button, that is being displayed in the display screen, right? So how you can figure it out is you have to give an input, right? Since you're printing that particular value on the display screen, can we say that that particular view is acting as an input for the display screen?
Yes, yes.
Yes. So that means you
Okay.
have to start. Yeah. That
Okay,
means you have
so
to start. Hmm. Yeah. Continue.
we should like it will act as one of those classes which we use actually in data structures like scanner classes, which takes the input from the user.
Yes. So in case of JavaScript, you can just like input button, which will assign, which you can. Wait, I'll show you. I think while I was showing you the HTML code. mm, oh, yeah, I'll show you this. So this is what I wanted to say. So because see, I showed you this, right? This particular code, right? Which was just taking a prompt, who are you? And there was an alert, right? So do you see this input value that was there, right? So in this, what are we doing? We just made a button that says don't click, and once you click on it, because it has the on click function, sorry, yeah, on click implementation, it goes to a function named message, and that particular function is called, right? So similarly, what you have to do is you have to take an input type and put it as button. Why? Because in calculator, we are creating those buttons, like 1, 2, 3, 4, plus, minus stuff. And you have to assign the value. So suppose here, instead of don't click, I am creating a button that has a value of 1 on the calculator. This value will be 1, right? And this on click can be anything, whatever function you've created, or the evaluation function that these guys were talking about. So that is on you to figure out that how that on click thing will work, and how on clicking this particular button, how the button's value will be displayed on the display screen. Okay, my part here is to explain you that why and how do we approach and decide which function to implement, and why are we implementing that particular function. Is that clear?
Yes, yes.
Yes. So similarly, just like we created it for 1, we create it for every number from 0 to 9, and we also create it for plus, minus, division, multiplication symbols. Then we have to create a similar button for clear button as well, and we have to make sure that the functionalities that we want, that's just implemented in the right way, whether it is through a function or it is through a built-in method or whatever. That is on you to figure out. But the basic structure is gonna be this. So your JavaScript code is moreover gonna look like a lot of input with the button type, and with on click method.
The ID of the button, it actually, are we accessing the IDs which you are using to make the HTML of that?
No, sorry, I didn't get it.
So when we were creating those buttons in HTML, so we were assigning them like an ID, right?
Yeah.
So in this eval thing, I think is supposed to take input from the user, like from, you can imagine like that.
Okay, so you can definitely do that if you're creating the buttons in HTML, right? But what if you create that button in JavaScript itself and just have like a, so what I mean is, suppose you take a empty string, okay, or you take an empty form, whatever it is, your choice. So if you start creating buttons in JavaScript itself, and you start the evaluation, or putting all these form value, or appending the string value to the button once you are evaluating, it will still work, right? So there's no extra effort of having those IDs referenced from an HTML file to JavaScript.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, if we if we keep on adding, suppose we click some numbers and keep on, suppose we click 2 plus 3, then how will that 2 plus 3, which is in the form of a string, be actually calculated as 5?
Yeah, I mean, see, I meant it as like, how do I tell you? Let me bring the words together.
Should we use some things like um if in that string there is a number, then we can.
Yeah, I mean, see, if you're taking a string clearly, okay, and you're putting it, there are ways where you can change it into integer, right? So then all your operations will happen how an integer is supposed to happen, right?
Yes.
But what I meant by the string and form example is that you can have an idea of a storage in mind. Okay, so once you have that thing to store, it's exactly like I ask you to like put. So I give you a box of that has balls of multiple colors. Okay, and then I ask you that you pick up a red ball and to pick up a green ball, okay, and put both of them together in the other or just take both of them together and put it somewhere, right? So what you can do here is you can have an empty box and you can take out the red and the green ball and put it together in that empty box, right? So that is the whole idea how you want to go forward with it. Now if I ask you to take out that green ball and replace it with a blue ball, you can again take from this bigger box and take the ball and put it into that. So I'm saying that in order to perform any operations, you can have something as an idea of a storage. Now you take a string, you take a form, you can take whatever, and make sure that those values are appended once that particular button is clicked. Okay, and once you have that, suppose you put 3 plus 5 blah blah blah, and then you use something as evaluate or whatever method, then this evaluate should do is whatever the result should be of this storage that you have taken, it should display that result, right? So it does not necessarily have to be a string. It can be any type, but if you are taking a string, make sure that it's converting to numerical value. If you're taking a form, there is no need of such conversions. If you're taking any other thing, if you're taking a float, you're taking a decimal, whatever it is, make sure that you get the output in the right way. That is what I meant. I'm definitely not going to tell you the whole answer, but I'm saying that these are the ways you can approach a particular problem if you're getting stuck at it. Am I clear from my end?
Yeah, we can also take something like a stack to keep on pushing.
Wouldn't it be pretty complicated for you to implement the
Um,
whole thing?
so if I suppose input something like 5 divided by 0, so it will
Hmm.
output anything logical. It's undefined, right? So how are we supposed to handle it? So if in stack we had learned about a valid expression, a valid arithmetic expression, how to determine if an arithmetic expression is valid or not, so to check the validity too. Like if it is written 5 plus plus 9, something like that,
Yeah.
9 divided by 0, so can check the validity.
Yeah, I mean, see, if you can implement it, it's more than good that you can implement it. But I'm saying that if you think from a point of view where we're talking about absolute beginner people who are just gonna implement it with the basic stuffs that we have learned as of now, that is how they, that is how you should approach it. If you think you can implement stack and you can omit these conditions where you can get undefined values because you're dividing by 0, or you've put 2 plus operator and stuff, if you can deal with it, well and good. It's really nice if you can implement it. Just make sure that you handle those cases. But here we are talking about like a very basic implementation to just keep your basics clear, right, on how
Okay.
things work.
Yeah, it is clear. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else who's facing any issues, you can definitely ask. How she was asking, oh, I'm really bad with pronunciation of names. Like I've never seen such difficult names of people as I have seen in this session. So I'm really careful because I don't want to piss someone off by wrong pronunciations. So forgive me if I do that. Is there anyone else who thinks that they might be stuck, or did all your questions get answered in our discussion? Come on, speak up. Has everyone started making the calculated now itself or what? Everyone is making the calculator. Good. we'll move forward to another concept. Okay, so we'll be getting into the OOPS concept. So anybody who can explain me what object-oriented programming is, according to your understanding, and the basic terminologies that we generally hear in terms of inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, classes, objects. Girls, where did you guys go?
In object oriented programming language, like everything is treated as object, as we discussed earlier. So the exchange of data happens through objects, whereas in like procedural language it happens through some procedures or functions, but here it happens through objects. And there are some basic concepts like inheritance, abstraction, etc., where like and polymorphism. We can have like many forms, which is nothing but polymorphism, and abstraction is nothing but showing the data that which is necessary, and inheritance is basically used for reusability, like getting the data from the parent element and we could use it in a child thing.
Okay.
And
Good.
also we have encapsulation. That's nothing but putting things together.
Okay. Wrapping up into capsules and in terms of classes and stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Good.
Thank you.
Everyone knows everything. Everything. Smart girls, huh? Okay. So, like she already mentioned, so there are like 4 major concepts that we talk about in OOPS that goes as encapsulation and inheritance and abstraction and polymorphism. Okay, so we will get into these one by one. But what happens is, like mostly you will see the inheritance form being implemented in terms of code, because you can easily show it in terms of code, right? So with the term inheritance itself, you know that okay, someone is inheriting someone, right? So we have multiple classes, and there can be a child class that has inherited something from its base class or parent class. So there are certain features that it has inherited and certain feature it has of its own, just like how we human function. So we have like a lot of similarities when it comes to both our parents, but we also have some features of our own, right? So that is how inheritance works in programming language as well. Abstraction always goes by hiding the background details and just showing what is necessary, because when you're making a website, suppose, like I can give that in a layman terms, that when you're making a website, not every user who's coming to your website is interested in how the things are working in the backend, like how's the code working, or once they're putting in their name, Gmail, whatever, how is it going to the database and fetching their records and stuff. They're not interested to know that. So you're hiding those background details, right, and showing them what is important to them. So that is a basic layman example of abstraction. When you're talking about polymorphism, it's basically like one name but multiple forms. So once you're implementing polymorphism, I personally find polymorphism very confusing, because I always thought that a class can have a similar name, then a variable can also have similar name. But in some cases it does. If you're not doing it properly, if you're messing up with the synchronization and stuff, the compiler is gonna throw you an error. So if you declare 2 variables with the same variable name, it's gonna give you an error, right? So that part was always confusing for me. But what polymorphism basically means is that, like my name is Sneha. So in a similar class, there are 10 more Snehas, right? But they're all different. So we are using like same name, but No, a variable can't have same name. If you do like, if you do multiple declarations, suppose if you're doing it in a block of code, okay, and you're deciding, declaring it locally, okay, then it's not going to create a problem. But if you're declared it globally, and then you're declaring it locally as well, so then in that case, it might have an issue because the compiler can get confused which variable are you actually referring to, right? So every programming language has its own way of dealing with it. Okay, like if I say const person and then I again do a let person, so that is definitely gonna show me those zigzag red lines and lead to errors, right? But if I am declaring a particular variable inside a local code block, okay, local code block. Once that particular code block is over and we come out of that code block, for example, you might have seen that when we are running for loop, okay, there's an I variable, right, inside the for loop. Once we come out of that for loop and the whole code is executed, if you declare a I again, okay, globally, then it won't show you errors, right? So that is how it works. There's a global variable concept, there's local variable concept, and you have to always be very careful about how you are declaring that, because it's like you have 10 snehas in the class, and in the session Priyanka starts calling Sneha, I want you to stop the class, or just she says, okay Priyanka, Sneha, I want you to stop. Now those 10 snehas might be confused that who is she asking to, right? But if she says the whole thing that I want you to stop presenting in the class, then it's particularly about me. But if you're not specifying which variable or which person as Sneha we're talking about, it's gonna create a havoc, right? All of the 10 of us will be like, yes, yes, you were saying something, yes, you were calling me. So that is the kind of confusion that happens even in real life. So that's definitely gonna have in programming. So yeah, back to polymorphism. So one name, multiple forms. It can be a function name, it can be a variable name, it can be a class, it can be a lot of things. So that is when we go as polymorphism. And encapsulation, we're talking about encapsulating all the details. You might have heard about putting everything under classes or declaring it as objects. Then we have these access modifiers where we increase the security in terms of public, private, protected, blah blah blah. So that's where you're encapsulating everything inside one. That is a layman definition of encapsulation. Yeah, this is about OOPS, and OOPS generally starts with the definition of classes and objects, which we have already discussed, right? How we go forward with it, and how we declare objects and stuff. So, this was, okay. This is visible. Where did my screen? Yeah. So now we will see, how we are creating or interacting with classes and in a browser. Okay, so you can see I've taken this example. We're creating a class called session form, right? So this is the basic code. Okay, so what we did, we created these like functions or methods inside class. This one is submit, this is cancel, this is fill, right? And inside submit, what we're doing is we're doing a console.log and this dot name plus your form is submitted for session, this dot session name. So again, since you're talking about classes and objects, this is gonna be a very common keyword, and this is how you're accessing it, right? This is the property. You can see Visual Studio Code doing a good job in terms of that. Then you're creating a cancel method. So once you call this cancel method, it will be like, okay, this form is cancelled for session, for the session name and whosoever is canceling it. If you're talking about the fill method, it is talking about, you know, the name of the person and the session name, right? So as you can see that in these methods, we are not really passing parameters here, but with fill, we are passing parameters. So it's totally a choice. Okay. It's just to show you that whether you pass parameters or whether you don't pass parameters, you can obviously, you will still be able to access the object's name or the like whatever entity we are referring to, right? So now we have to create this form. Okay, we have to create a form for Sneha, suppose. So what I do is I call, I create this variable called Sneha form. Okay, so this is basically creation of a new object for this particular class, right? So we are calling this class and we are creating the object for it. And we are calling this particular method inside this class as the variable dot fill, right? So if you remember, we creating objects, let me go back. Yeah. So we here we created this object, right? So we were like const person equals to new object, right? And these were the properties: first name, last name, age, eye color, blah blah blah. Similarly, for classes, we have these methods, and in order to call that method, we are just using the object name, and then we are calling this particular method. And since this fill method had two parameters, given name and session name, so we will give values to it, Sneha and JavaScript. Okay, now let's go to browser and see how it goes. So you can see this screen, right? Okay, so right now you won't be able to see because you won't be able to see the fill option, anything happening in the console, because we are not doing a console.log here. Okay, let's wait for the other statements. So suppose I create form 1 for Reva and form 2 also for Reva. Okay, so I'm creating two session forms for Reva in terms of form 1 and form 2. And what I'm doing here is, again, I am trying to fill the form with the respective values. So I pass Reva as the value, as the given name, and JavaScript and Solidity as the session name. Okay. Now you will see the magic happening. Okay. So I'll first uncomment this. So we will say Sneha form.submit. Right. So once you see this, like once you refresh this, you will see this Sneha, your form submitted for session JavaScript. So this is coming in console, okay? Because here, what we're doing is we're not doing anything in our local terminal of Visual Studio Code. Whatever we are doing is happening in the browser, okay? Now, people will definitely ask me to show me the HTML file for this JavaScript code. So it's nothing. It's a doc type HTML. The head is given. And in the body, it's just written welcome to another class. And you can see that I've used the script tag to route to new.js. New.js is my file name. If I can show it to you once I increase the font. So this is the new.js where we were talking about the code. I'll bring back to its normal font. Yeah. So you can see this in the console as Sneha, your form is submitted for session. Now, if I uncomment this Reva form 1.submit, okay, Reva form 2.submit, and Reva, okay. Okay. So if I save it, if you go to the browser, you will see that instead of just Sneha, you're also printing your form is submitted for session JavaScript, Reva, your form is submitted for session Solidity, right? Now, some people might have this thing that, you know, instead of a console.log, they want to do an alert because they like pop-ups on their screen. So what we'll do is we'll go here and we'll change it as alert, and for cancel also we will Okay, we haven't used cancel yet, but we'll change this also to allot. Okay, and we'll make sure that this one is also uncommented, where I'm canceling Reva's form 1. So form 1 was canceling the JavaScript session. Now if we go to HTML, you will see that Sneha, your form is submitted for session JavaScript. So that was the first code that we put. Sneha form.submitted. That is why Sneha, your form is submitted for session JavaScript. Right? Now you click OK. Then you will get Reva's output. Your form is submitted for session JavaScript. Now, since we have changed the console.log to allot, okay, that is why instead of it being printed in the console, you're getting it as allot pop-up. Again, if you click OK, you will get it as Reva, your form is submitted for session Solidity. Now, if you remember, you can see that we called Sneha form.submit once, Reva form 1.submit, form 2.submit, but we cancelled Reva form 1.cancel. Okay. So once you click on this OK, it will, yeah. No, guys, sorry. Yeah. This form is cancelled for session JavaScript. So it didn't really show you the cancel one before, because it takes a little time to load once you save the file locally. So you will see that this form is cancelled for session, right? So this is what we can do when we are creating this. Now, why did we actually create this form and stuff? This is to give you an example that this is how a class is created. Okay, if you have to do common stuffs for the whole class, okay, you create a template, and then accordingly you can fill your data into it, and that becomes your particular object, right? So like if I am taking a feedback for all of you guys, from all of you guys, for this particular session, what will I do? I'll create a common Google form that has the basic questions, and I'll send it to you guys, right? Once you fill it with your email and your name and stuff, that becomes an object of the class form, and that object entity or the details or attribute is you, your individual details, right? So this is how we actually implement class when you're talking about OOPS, or in general. These are the various methods. You can create any method, play along with the code block, and have all these data filled, and call these methods and stuff. So that's how a normal class implementation goes. Now we'll see how a constructor goes. Okay, so see, I personally don't find why was constructor ever founded. Okay, even as a student I was like, shit, what is this shit? Okay, because it just says that, okay, once you're creating a constructor, it's automatically getting invoked when an object of that class is created. Okay, so it's like your mom. So my mom has 2 daughters, so it's like my sister is like a constructor. Okay, she's a buy one get one free. So every time my mom will call me, my sister also is automatically called. Okay, so what's like, it's pretty useless, right? So my sister is useless, constructor here is useless. But yeah, obviously there are some hidden cases, but I really find that, okay, there's no reason to have that kind of stuff, calling a constructor every time an object for that class is created. So if you see this piece of code, okay, where you're creating class session form, we still have in the next example itself, we still have the same method, submit, cancel, fill. Like you can see, submit, cancel, fill. But we're trying to do something with the constructor here. Okay, so you have to note that, okay, these are both similar examples, but Sneha has implemented a constructor, and we will see how that particular constructor is working. Okay. But let us first see the same thing, like how it goes. Okay. We go to the browser, and we see that, okay, the same stuff is implemented, right? Everything is coming all together like it did in the previous case. So I don't really see a use of constructor here. But let me uncomment this, and I'll show you how the constructor will actually work. See, so you were basically creating 3 objects of the class, right? And every time that object is created, a constructor is called. Okay, so that is one use. Like that is how it goes. So once you do a print statement inside a constructor, you will see that how many times you're creating something. The like the constructor will be called automatically. Okay. There's also a way where you can access the given name and the session name inside the constructor itself, right? So even this can be done. It's similarly like one, you can pass a constructor with parameters, and you can also pass a constructor without parameters. Things will still work the same way. Okay, like if I comment this and just oh, why did I press oh shit, no, I did something. I pressed D. So a class may only have one constructor. So see, I forgot to comment this, and that is why there's an error here in the console that says uncaught syntax error. So these are the little things that we have to pay attention to. So I'll comment this, and we will see how it's working. So again, similarly, with parameters or without parameters, it's working the same way, right? So it's totally on you whether you, just like we give you a choice when it comes to functions, that whether you want to write everything in the function body, or do you want to pass parameters in the function and then use the same parameters as arguments and write the code using those parameters. It's totally up to you. But this example is basically to show the implementation here in terms of constructor. So I hope this part is clear to you guys, right? Guys, are you guys here? Yes. Okay. So let me check my pointers if I missed out something. We already talked about class. We talked about all the properties and stuff. Okay, classes, declaration, and expressions as well. Okay, yeah. I think we have covered almost everything. Okay, there's also concept of prototype that goes very importantly when you're talking about these classes and objects and stuff. So how do I actually explain? So I'll show you this code again. 1 minute. Oh, my laptop. Wait. Okay, I can't really find that piece of code. So basically, what happens is even prototype is working like that. Now, a prototype basically is that you have an object, okay, and that object is either referencing to an attribute. It can be a null object as well, but it inherits its property from a prototype. Like if you have to if I ask you to make a working model of anything, of a robot, suppose, what everyone does is it will first make a prototype, and then it will expand into multiple features when they are working in that working model, right? So every object in JavaScript has a prototype object, okay, that whose properties and methods are inherited in that particular object. Okay, there can be like a lot of properties that are similar. There can be a few properties that are similar. It totally depends. It's exactly something that works similar to a concept of inheritance. Okay, so wait, where did that piece of code go? I hope I didn't delete it. Hmm, this should. Okay. I think just let me run the live server. Hmm, okay. There's definitely some issue with this piece of code, but I'll still try explaining it to you with the example. It's not running in the live server. There's some issue with the HTML file. But as you can see here, okay, so what I did was I was trying to create a prototype here. Okay, so it's the declaration is similar, right? So you're creating this object and it has a property name, it has a property language. Okay, these are the experiments that I would show you again. And then I created another P object, and you're calling this run property here from A, okay, in P. But this will not work. Why? Because you didn't really create that connection between A and B. Okay, so in this case, suppose you're not having run and you're having run here, right? So if you run P separately, that will run, okay, because it has this method. But here, when we're trying to do A is a prototype and you're assigning this value, then only then the establishment between A and P will happen, and that particular feature of run as an attribute will be transferred to A. So I can't really explain how the inheritance is happening until and unless I'm able to show you the code. But it's not running. There's some issue with the HTML file. I probably edited it differently. So I'll talk about this in next class on how prototypes actually have that establishment. But if I have to give you like a brief example, it's like suppose mm, how do I explain? Okay, so you and your friend, okay, so you say that you will be bringing a box of chocolates for picnic, and your friend says that okay, she will be bringing soft drinks for the picnic. Okay, so if you are individual entities, you can't claim that you have also brought the box of chocolates, right? So you and your friend do a treaty or do a deal between yourselves that you guys are not gonna reveal that you haven't brought the chocolate or she hasn't brought the soft drinks. So you say that okay, whatever you bring is also mine and whatever I bring is also yours. Okay, we won't let anyone know. So if you guys fight just before the picnic, you won't be able to inherit those attributes, right? So since you have brought chocolates, you can't claim that you have brought soft drinks as well, right? And similarly, your friend can't say that she has brought chocolates because she has only brought soft drinks, right? But if you are both acting as a prototype of each other, you're inheriting both the attributes. So you can claim that you have brought chocolates and soft drinks both, and she can also claim the same. That is how prototypes work. Okay. So if you are not having this run feature inside A, if you try to run this A dot run, it will show you an error. Okay. But since we declared a run feature here with P, and then later we are declaring a dot proto, which is a syntax for prototyping, and you're adding P to it, Then if you run, a.run, it will show you this console.log as still learning. So that is how you inherit. Until and unless you create and declare a prototype with other method, you won't be able to access its feature because the inheritance or the prototyping has not been completed. But if you have created the prototype, whatever features is in P and whatever feature is in A, you will be able to access it both. So am I at least clear to some extent from my end? Like it will be pretty easy when we do it through the code, but it's not working. So I'll show it to you in the next class. But is the concept of prototyping clear in your head, at least in the most basic terms? Okay. Okay, I see Jyotsna's response, guys. Other guys also please respond. Okay, good, good. So we will see the code in the next class, and we'll also be seeing the code for inheritance. It's a long code, so it's obviously gonna take time to explain. So I think we will do that in the next class itself. If you guys have any questions, you can. What is wrong with my laptop? Yeah, if you guys have any questions, you can ask me, or else we can, yeah. So here I can show you. This is the inheritance code, so it's gonna take like a lot of time where I have to explain every class to you and stuff. So we'll do it in next class. That's better because there's no point taking a long code for the last segment. So I think, yeah, that's. Wait. I'm not able to. Yeah, where we have to post the assignment. Yeah, I think Priyanka will be able to tell you that. I suggest having Google Classroom. It's easy for evaluation, but then they will tell you where are you supposed to submit the assignment. Is it through a Google form in a zip folder or whatever? So I'll let Kiran or Priyanka handle that question. If there are any other questions, today's class was so good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Today's class is so good. What about the previous classes? It was not so good. It's just good. Is it?
They're excellent, actually.
Okay. Cool. So I'll stop share. Yeah.
On the assignment part, I think we can discuss that, but I would love you guys to actually push the code onto the GitHub, to start with, so that we can start building, the traction for you, and the proof of work on the GitHub. But I'll also, check with Sneha, and we will evaluate other options for you to submit the assignments. But for now, like whatever code is there, just push it onto, your GitHub request.
Yeah, that is what I've already been telling these people, that it's really I have seen few people doing Twitter threads for every class. That's pretty good. I think Mahelika did it. So good job on that one. I would request other people also to do it because it gives you visibility. I can't stress this enough, how important it is to have that visibility. Okay, by when do we need to complete the first set of assignments? So for every assignment that I give you on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the submission date is on Saturday because we want your Sundays to be free. So Saturday midnight is the deadline for the assignments. Coming back to Twitter threads and even doing regular GitHub commits, it is very important. So people who are doing it, great job. Like it's really important, and you will see your growth by the end of the cohort. Those who have not started, it's not a tough thing to do. You just have to write a few pointers about what you learned in class and make sure that you tag us so that we can track your work. and it's gonna be good. Okay, you're new to JavaScript, somewhat you feel difficult. It's fine. It's fine. If there are any concepts or anything that you particularly find difficult, we can have like a separate call. People who are finding it difficult, if you want, if you have these certain topics that I've covered till now and you're finding it difficult to follow up, after you have done your effort, okay, not right away, after you have done your effort from your end, um, you can DM Kiran or you can DM anybody from the team and set up a call with me, and I will sit with you and explain you those concepts again. But make sure that you do your part from your end so that I don't have to put in a lot of energy, because this 2-hour class itself requires a lot of work. But I'm happy to assist you guys until and unless your concepts are cleared. Okay, so you'll have to do a lot of background work. It's effort from both ends, but just be very very assured and free to reach out to us. I can definitely have a separate call with you guys, and we can sit together and discuss the topics and issues. Can you share your code for what you taught today for our reference? Oh, share the code. You are definitely not gonna understand the code because it's a little messed up between HTML and JavaScript. But yeah, I'll try to give the JS file as a zip. Um, is it okay not pushing the code to GitHub as I'm just uploading the? Yeah, it's fine. Just make sure that your GitHub is active. Okay. Yeah, and upload the solution to assignments on GitHub also. That will be equivalent to submitting the assignments. Okay, until and unless we come up with any other platform or solution, doing it on GitHub is fine. That's good for our evaluation. It makes our work easier. So even that is good. And you can definitely, once you do the assignment, you can record a working demo or take few screenshots, put it on Twitter and tag us and say that okay, yeah, you attempted this particular assignment and stuff. Don't think of Twitter as another social media for Web3 people to bring all those kind of opportunities. It is very important to have that visibility. I got this opportunity to teach you guys through Twitter. Kiran reached out to me on Twitter. So it's a huge thing to, continuously tell people that you're working on something like this, because you never know what kind of opportunities can come through. So yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, last but not the least, one logistic item from our side. So most of you have given us the Discord IDs. So if you haven't given us the Discord IDs, or if you're not part of the Web3 Learn Discord, please ping Fauzia. We would love to add you to a particular channel in the Discord group called 100 Girls on Blockchain. The reason why we are doing this is, once we start the Solidity at the end of week 1 of Solidity, we'll be coming up with problem statements, and we'll be dividing you into a team of 4 or 5, and we'll assign the project for you guys. Most of the discussions, along with the mentor support, will be happening on Discord, not on WhatsApp. So it is very important, for you guys to be on the Discord, and for us to be, adding you to that particular channel. So ensure that for the next class, by Friday, ensure that you are part of the Discord and you also got added to that particular channel. Any questions, please ping either me or Fauzia. Yeah, that's only from our end. Any last question? One, two.
Ma'am, are we supposed to get added to that particular channel? For that also we have to ping Fozia ma'am.
Yeah, just ping me or Fauzia. Okay. On that note, I think thanks again, Sneha and the team. I think we started, I think, around 30 and went all the way up to like 65, 70. It's a great thing. Just focus on your studying in terms of like, if you have any doubts, go back. We will upload this, video tomorrow morning onto the Notion doc. Revisit, all the basics.